think about my money and how much I've spent, how quickly I spent it, and where it all went. Sometimes I regret it, sometimes I don't care. If my wife knew the value of my collection, I'd need to be in your prayers. Some men like to gamble, some men like to race, some men like to party, to drink and fall on their face. But I've been collecting knives since the time before MySpace. Some are fixed blades and I have many that fold. Some go down in value, but some appreciate like gold. There's a feeling inside, a hole in my soul. If there isn't a new knife on its way to my home, order a full custom, get on a wait list. Could be a year or three, but it's worth buying to me because of the skill of the artist. And some factory knives that you didn't know existed are rare and special.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jim, and today I'd like to discuss with you the Ursus line from Shirogorov. Thank you as always for joining me, and I want to give a special thank you both to Shirogorov and to Sako at Recon 1. It's through my relationship with Sako and his relationship as being the distributor for Shirogorov that allowed me to have a nice conversation with Shirogorov and had the opportunity to present this knife right here. So this is not a knife that I own in my collection, unfortunately, so this will be the one and only time you get a chance to see this on my channel. But I have had the wonderful opportunity to experience every level of knife making that Shirogorov offers, whether it be standard production, custom division, or full custom Sergey Shirogorov knives. And as many of you know, they are significantly different in price levels. But before we get into breaking down everything about Shirogorov, I want you to think about the knife industry in general for a moment as it relates to both collectible knives and EDC knives. What do the Chris Reeve Large Sabenza, Hinderer XM24, and the Strider SMF all have in common? Well, they're all serious, hard-use knives that are premium-made knives that even though they're utilitarian, they still feel special. And many of the nicer variants, the fancier or more rare variants, are highly collectible. That's what the Ursus line of knives represents for Shirogorov. So instead of putting a multi-$1,000 full custom Shirogorov into your pocket or a $1,500+ custom division Shirogorov that you're afraid of damaging, you've got a workhorse version that still manages to exude the DNA of Shirogorov without the finer, delicate finishes. You still get, and this is really important to realize, all of the benefits that you're getting by having the Shirogorov name. You're getting their insane, snappy action, which really is what turned most of us into Shirogorov fanatics over the last 20 or so years, because of that hand-tuned detent, and of course, the sliciness of their hand-finished blades. And that is something that's carried into this more budget-oriented line of knives from Shirogorov. Hand-tuned detent, hand-finished blades, all hand assembly, hand-tuned locks, and it's also got the multi-row bearing system, Shirogorov's MRBS. Some of them will have the SRBS, the single-row bearing option. And exactly the same way that both Seiko and Rolex developed the automation of watchmaking in order to increase supply, yet still deliver hand-finished high-quality products, Shirogorov has worked to streamline their processes, developing advanced manufacturing to satisfy the needs of the customer base. That means more knives, more availability, but still made in the same facilities by the exact same knife makers that are doing the hand finishing and hand tuning, that are doing it on the standard production and on the custom divisions. So it's not even like they're farming any work out and sending the stuff out to other factories or other workers. These are made with the exact same care as all of the other Shirogorovs, whether you're spending $900, $1,500, $2,200 in a Shirogorov or a Shirogorov custom division. The same people are putting the same amount of effort into the manufacturing of these. They're just not as fancy. You're not getting the crazy finishes or anything like that, but you're getting all the important things that you want when you're buying a Shirogorov. You want slim, sleek, lightweight, snappy detent, smooth, fast action. And it's also nice if you can get that reinforced pivot area with the multi-row bearing system. So why would you choose to buy an Ursus over, say, a Sebenza? Well, if you prefer a flipper, the choice is obvious. There is no such thing as a flipper Sebenza without buying a custom modified blade from somebody else that is not Chris Reeve. Why would you buy an Ursus over an XM24 that is a flipper? Well, you know the legendary detent and slick action of a Shirogorov. You're still getting that. Even though this is a more utilitarian look and finish. You know, you've got a stonewash blade, you know, like the Hinderers and the Sebenzas, where you're not afraid to get a couple of marks on it because it just blends in with the natural finish that's already on there. And you know that Hinderers aren't really known for being great flippers. They have gotten better for sure, but it's still no contest. Yes, their tri-pivot is really cool, and that was a major leap forward for them. But Rick has mentioned many, many, many times in open forums that he doesn't consider the flipper to be a flipper, an actual made just to flip the blade open. It's more of a blade assist, the same way that Kit Carson had originally intended the flipper to be. With Shirogorov, they were gaining their popularity really when the golden age of flippers was born, where collectors went, I want a rocket in my pocket. I want something with fast deployment that's snappy, that's smooth, that's basically switchblade automatic fast and completely legal, no springs required. And Shirogorov was one of the first to consistently wow the industry in multiple different price levels. I still remember frantically trying to get our hands on every model that there was in the baseline when you were buying them for $500, $600. Those baseline prices don't exist any longer. They're much, much higher. If you want that baseline price, it's now the Ursus line. And I think most people didn't even know that there are full titanium frame lock versions of the Ursus. We've seen them in G10, we've seen them in other materials, but the stonewashed, plain Jane, if you will, full titanium might be an option that you didn't even know was available to you. I think it's fantastic. So we talked about why you would buy an Ursus over a Sebenza, why you might buy an Ursus over an XM24, but why buy an Ursus over a Strider? It's not as beefy or heavy as a Strider. However, the blade geometry is more conducive to slicing cleanly and easily, and it's a sleeker design both in the pocket and in the hand. The ergonomics are arguably better. And everybody's going to have a different opinion on that. And I'm not saying my opinion's any more valid than yours. I like how Striders fit in my hand. But I also really, really like how almost every Shirogorov feels in my hand. Let's talk about the specs on this bad boy real quick. You're looking at an overall length of 8.82 inches. Yeah, it's a big mamma jamma. Blade length is 3 3/4 inches, and it's made in Chromax PM, which is, as the name dictates, a powder metallurgy steel, so it's a super steel. Your blade stock is 140 thou thick. Your handle thickness is well under a half an inch. From clip to presentation scale, you're looking at 450 thou. So 50 thou under a half an inch, nice and slim and easy to carry, even though it's a longer, bigger knife. The bearings, again, is the multi-row bearing system, and your weight in the full titanium is 4.1 ounces. So, in my opinion, Shiros are some of the easiest to carry, some of the best to cut with, because of their incredible blade geometry, and nicest to fidget with EDC knives that you can put in your pocket. Unfortunately, for most people, the prices have been rather prohibitive. Listen, I have spent years on my channel here showing knives that were thousands of dollars into tens of thousands of dollars. I recently showed you a $30,000 pocket knife on my channel. And I don't have a problem with somebody charging a hefty price tag for a high quality knife, as long as the quality and the functionality matches up to the money that they're charging. Here, you're not buying artistry, even though you do have that sexy look that all Shirogorovs have. You're buying a workhorse. And then there's a line that some people won't cross if they're thinking about, this is a work knife. I'm going to be doing hard cutting with it. There's a chance I'm going to be dropping this on the concrete. It's going to get knocked around and it's going to get battle scars all over it. What's my uppermost limit that I'm willing to spend on a knife that's going to get fairly abused? Then you take into account all the cheap knives that you bought over the years to take to work. And after buying 10 of those, replacing over and over and over because they didn't hold their edges, or their edges rolled or chipped, or the blades rusted, or some other inferior material choice caused the knife to not work in the capacity that you needed it to, how many times have you replaced that cheaper knife, and how much have you spent total on that? There's always that give and take. Yes, as collectors, we put a lot of that stuff to the side and we buy based on emotion. We buy based on how beautiful a knife is, or how well it fits in the hand, or how silky smooth the action is, or how snappy the detent is, how special or rare that particular variant is going to be. We have many reasons to make that decision. But for somebody that's going to carry this every day, and at some point, even the most collector-minded of collectors is going to want to have a knife in their pocket every day. Something that they actually can use. And that they're not afraid to use. What good does it do you to have a case full of knives in your bedroom that's filled with $1,000 plus knives, and you're walking around with a $30 folding utility knife in your pocket? That's not going to satisfy who you are. That's like having cases full of really beautiful, incredible quality watches, and then walking out of the house with a $15 Timex on your wrist. That's not satisfying who you are as a watch collector or a watch enthusiast. You want to enjoy that thing that you love as much as you can. But you're responsible and you think to yourself, well, I'm not going to go laying carpet with a $2,300 custom division Shirogorov hottie. It's just not going to happen. I get that. And that's where these come in. So if you've ever wondered what the Ursus line was all about, that's what it is. They are replacing what used to be their base standard Shirogorov production knives. They're giving you an actual series name to help delineate between EDC, first step collecting, and high-end collecting. Ursus, custom division, Sergey Shirogorov. I like it because the only way you can make it easier is if you color-coded it. Which I don't know if, no, because a lot of the other Shirogorov boxes are brown as well, so that's not going to be it. By the way, you still get a COA card. I forgot to mention that. And they are individually serialized. Get your microfiber cloth. All in all, what do I think of it personally? I like it. I have large hands, so the big frame works well for me. And I know a lot of people had gotten introduced to Shirogorov in the past decade or so with the Neon, which is a significantly smaller knife. And this might feel a bit alien to you in this size. But for those of us that started way back in the early to mid 2000s buying the F95Ts and models like that, this is only a little bit larger. And I mean only a little bit. F95 was what? 3.5-inch blade, I want to say. 3.6-inch blade. This is 3 3/4. This isn't significantly larger, but it is more of a working size, and you've got a lot of belly here to work with. So for those of us that have been into Shiros for a long, long time, you're really going to have an appreciation for this. And here's something else, and I don't know that Shiro's going to appreciate me mentioning this, because I don't know to what degree their warranty covers their knives if you've taken it apart or anything else. Take a good look at this and tell me this is not a wonderful base for customization. Maybe it's fine hand engraving or laser engraving, beautiful patterns into it. Or it's doing, what I would do if this were mine is I would take this out into my shop right away and I would put a hand rub satin finish on the raised flat. I would probably go around and do the same thing on the outer perimeters of the frame, maybe even a mirror polish, just to give it a bit of a pop. And then also up here into this relief cut. I love these standoffs that they do, by the way. I've always dug these. I always thought they were super cool. And my camera does not want to focus on them. And I would do the same thing on the pocket clip. That would be all satin finish. I'd leave that milled area alone, leave it the way it is. And you could do various anodizing. You could do one color here on the main. You could do another color on this stepped bevel, another color here, color for going around the pivot, another color for the pivot, the body hardware. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here for customization. Maybe even just something as simple as Cerakote. But this could really, really, really be a lot of fun. And again, going back to the whole Sebenza thing, think about how many wildly different looks there are in the Sebenza, whether straight from the factory or done aftermarket. There's a lot of possibilities here. Now, again, I don't know if that voids your warranty, so do that at your own risk. But even if you left it as a plain Jane like this, how many times have we fallen in love with plain Jane stone-washed titanium frame locks? So often. So many great knives. And now you could do it in a Shirogorov that maybe you can very easily afford. Well, as compared to other Shirogorovs. You know, this is still not going to be the Harbor Freight special. No, you're not buying a $30 knife. I get that. But it's affordable in comparison to what the name Shirogorov will typically command. And I'll be honest with you, it's nice to be able to say, hey, today I'm carrying a Shirogorov. That means something, you know? That's like saying you own a Ferrari, you know? Maybe it's not as pretentious as that. Maybe that's a bit too far. But when you say Shirogorov, everybody that knows knives knows that you have a superior quality product in your pocket. And that's pretty awesome. Anyway, that's my take on the Shirogorov Ursus. Thank you guys for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next video.